There are. Architectural approaches are limitless, but I think one very obvious thing, and one which is very much a subject of discussion, is the energy use, because it's about the heat islands, it's a use of fossil fuels, it's about air conditioning, which is, burning up so much energy. It's about being able to design where you can minimize, say, your conditioned energy sources. So you design with obviously natural lighting. The days of designing something which depends entirely on artificial lighting is gone. If that's what architects are doing today, they're outdated. If they're depending 100% on conditioned air as against passive ventilation systems, again, they're outdated. Water generation, greening your buildings because it cools it, those are the systems of today. I would like to think that I have pursued environmental design or concern for the environment in every project I've done, because environmental design is about prioritizing the environment. To work your design around the natural environment. So if it's a distressed environment, then you try to restore it, like I did with Jetwing Vil Uyana, like I've done with several projects where the site is already distressed. It's distressed as badly used for agricultural purposes, or there's been some kind of construction, basically a brownfield site in, if you spoke of technical terminology. If it's a pristine site, then in environmental design, what you do is you try to minimize your impact. Fast walk in, build, get out, which is what I did with the Rainforest Eco Lodge in Denyaya. Even though we built in T division, some of the T division, the forest had not been damaged. So the idea of working there with decommissioned ocean-going containers was to have a quick build. So you took it there, you set it up, and you moved out. And the concept was of viewing platforms for the forest. So you take it site by site. And so environmental design is very much about a contextual design. You look at your physical context and you design something very precisely for that. So what I'm saying is cookie cutter design does not work in environmental design. Very specific contextual design. Well, to explain rewilding is to bring back the original wilderness that was on a property. So there are various methods of rewilding. So what you are looking at is where you're rewilding. So for instance, if you take again Jetwing Vil Uyana, which was distressed agricultural land, I was designing a hotel. The product had to be ready with a forest area at the opening. So with rewilding, you then could look at, say, rewilding for the sake of rewilding, which is what I have done on my husband's and my land in Vaskamo Dunvilla. There was no timeline, there's no urgency, and for the past 24 years we have let the forest grow at its own speed. It's naturally seeded. So once we left it alone, we stopped cultivating it, stopped putting fertilizers in, the forest has regenerated. We have picked out particular species which we couldn't find regenerating, and we bought those plants and put them in, but it's grown at its own speed, and 24 years later we are living in a forest. So it's about what you're trying to achieve, and rewilding is not as hard as it's made out to be. To me, that's the only way forward for this planet, certainly for Sri Lanka. Regrow the forests, because what forests are doing today, I don't think even the most ardent conservationist has completely understood the number of benefits. From cooling it, protecting your water sources, to food sources, to allowing the soil to regenerate. It's endless. The color green, to me, it means forests, it means ferns, it means leaves. It's a healing color. And it's not just the green paint job or the green computer screen. It's the forest, and that's how this whole forest bathing has become a thing, because it's been identified as something that heals the troubled soul, which is it's a modern day ailment. In earlier times, people spent enough time outdoors where it didn't have to be a thing, where it didn't have to be sort of framed as forest bathing. I know the Japanese, they say, did it as a practice, but it doesn't have to be something that needs to be prescribed, which in Canada they're now actually prescribing outdoor time, and it's medically permitted. But that's actually how bad human societies have become. So what you can do to help yourself is get out into what is naturally green. Environmental architecture doesn't become environmental architecture by painting it green. No, that doesn't quite qualify for environmental architecture, because a lot of people think they build some monstrosity and paint it green. Oh, and it's environmentally friendly. No, that's not what green does. Green is actually living plants, forests. If you can do that, that's green. Well, architecture is the space one takes shelter in. It could be a home, it could be a hotel, it could be even an office is what provides you shelter while you're working, living. And if it's not a good form, it's sure to disrupt you. We talk of buildings that give off bad energy. There's something disharmonious about a space. So what you're talking about is a good architectural practice as against a bad architectural practice. Maybe there isn't proper light, maybe there isn't proper ventilation, but once you've identified that these are vital in human existence, you cannot fail to include them. In ancient times, there were actual formulae like Vastu, or in the Chinese call it Feng Shui. There were particular formulae which you applied to any design, and that is actually about proportion. So it was actually easier. It was like it was like some kind of a app where you could just plug in all your data and it gave you this. But in those days you'd actually calculate it, and you'd have what in Sri Lanka the practice would have been, there was the Brahmapada, which was the center where there was air and space, and you never stepped on it. So what it meant was you either planted a tree or you had a pond or something, where there was an open space at the center, and on the outside again, so there was the Manusapada, the Deva, so all these forms. But what it was actually doing was allowing through ventilation, light, and by applying these geometric forms in a particular fashion or a formula, you were forcing good architectural practices.
Dulux, Dulux, Dulux.